Have you always wanted to play as a genetically modified hamster in a giant mech suit? Well, now you can. Introducing dun da 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 Hammond, the giant hamster thing in Overwatch. So yeah, this is a Hammond guide for beginners. I mean dummies. Wait, no, I mean beginners. Yeah, that's right. Uh, so yeah, this guide will be going over a general kit overview, how to play as Hammond, and some advanced tips and tricks. So without further ado, let's get right into it, starting with his kit. Starting off, let's talk about Hammond's primary fire, his quad cannons. So they have 80 ammo, they do 125 damage per second, they can critical, they have a damage falloff of 15 to 25 meters, the reload time is 2.1 seconds, and the spread angle is 2 degrees. So overall, his primary fire is definitely one of the weakest in the game. Like, you can critical, but you're not going to be doing a whole lot of damage unless you're very, very up close. Like, if you try to poke from range at all, you don't do anything. So, yeah, that's definitely the worst part of his kit. And honestly, you just use this to finish off low health enemies. I'll get into combos a little later, but really it's just a mid-range machine gun. There's not a whole lot to say about it. Although I would like to add really quick that the spread angle of 2 degrees scales up instead of down. So unlike Bastion's fire when he's in his turret form, so the longer you hold left click or whatever the primary fire button is for you, the worse your accuracy will get. So you'll have to keep that in mind. So your first like 10 to 15 shots will generally be very accurate, but the back 40 shots will definitely have some issues in terms of landing. But overall, you've really got to just use this to finish kills. Keep it at close range, and again, it's a machine gun, so don't use it against armor, and honestly, I really wouldn't recommend poking from range unless you know they're not going to focus you, because one of Hammond's greatest abilities is the fact that, he's pretty stealthy. You can abuse the third-person camera a lot, and, you just don't want to give your position away. His primary fire is pretty loud, and enemies will definitely take notice, so you gotta be kind of careful with that. Moving on, Hammond's next and arguably his most important ability is his Grappling Claw. It does 50 damage when you're moving at a high enough speed. The max speed you can get with swinging with the Grappling Claw is 18 meters per second. The maximum range is 23 meters, and you deal knockback, and, you deal that 50 damage, and you knock enemies back. So, overall, it's definitely his strongest ability and the most useful to his kit. So the main uses of this ability are to gain speed and reposition yourself, and to also knock back people, as shown here. And here. And here. So yeah, overall, Hammond has a very strong ability in his Grappling Claw, and it also does combo very well with the next ability I'm going to talk about, his Pile Driver. Alright, time to talk about his Pile Driver, and there's a lot to unpack here. So, it's a bit of a weird ability because the damage isn't linear. The farther away you are from the epicenter of the impact, the less damage you'll take. So the damage is 100 damage if you land right on top of someone, all the way down to 20 damage if they're at the very end. You have to be at least 2.25 meters above the ground to cast this ability. So, for reference, the average jump height of a hero is 0.98 meters, so think about it like over 2 jumps high to be able to cast this ability. You can definitely cast it off of most payloads, but again, it can be kind of finicky sometimes. The area of effect is an 8-meter radius, which means overall you have a 16-meter wide circle around you and where you can do damage, and it knocks enemies into the air and slows them for half a second. Pile Driver also has a various number of hidden techs that are really useful because you can get to the minimum Pile Driver height by not using your Grappling Claw at all. The way it works is you go up to any slanted wall, and you quickly roll into it, then roll back as fast as you can, which should, in theory, give you enough jump height to pile drive. This is very useful because, again, you don't waste your grappling claw, which means you can easily escape after you pull this trick off. In this clip here, I used the slanted wall jump to secure a kill onto this Lucio. I roll up the wall and just, pile drive, leaving him vulnerable because, again, pile drive has a slowing effect. This allows my teammates to easily finish him off. Now that I've told you about that completely obscure tech, let's move on to the basic combo. I know, this is completely in order, but, for simplicity, the basic combo is generally Grappling Claw into Boop into Pile Driver into Primary Fire. This almost guarantees a kill, and I'll show you how it works. Here's a clip where I show off the combo pretty well. After winning the fight, it's time for cleanup, so I use my Grappling Claw to hit the Far out of the air, and then use my Pile Driver to easily finish her off. So again, that executed the combo pretty well. Grappling Claw into Boop, into Pile Driver into Primary Fire. I then follow up with a nice Boop kill on Mei, and that's basically the fight with only their tanks left. This just shows how Wrecking Ball can also be a snowball in terms of once you get that initial momentum, his mobility and disruption is just too much to deal with. Wrecking Ball thrives on opportunities, and using Grappling Claw and Pile Driver to displace and disrupt is definitely his most powerful attribute. But we still have one more ability and his ultimate to talk about, so let's go do that. Moving on to Hammond's final and his only quote-unquote tanking ability is his adaptive shields. So they grant 100 base shields, plus 75 extra shields for each enemy in range. The shields grant no ultimate charge as well, which means you can go in and pop them without fear of feeding the enemy ultimate charge. The duration of the shields is 9 seconds, the cooldown is 15 seconds, the area of effect is an 8-meter radius, same as Pile Driver, and the extra shields are blocked by barriers, so you will have to keep that in mind when you're casting it. Overall, this is probably Hammond's least important ability, and he just needs it for the kit, so let's not waste time on it and move on to his much more exciting ultimate ability. Okay, time to talk about Wrecking Ball's ultimate, the Big Kahuna, his Minefield. So, with this ultimate, Wrecking Ball drops 15 mines, they each have 50 health and do 130 damage. He does, however, have a cast time of 0.1 seconds, which means you can be stunned or killed in the very brief window, meaning that your ultimate could be wasted, so you have to be careful of that. The activation time for each mine is 1.5 seconds after hitting the ground. So, in total, if you drop mines at very base ground level, you can expect them to be doing damage within around 1.6 to 1.7 seconds. However, because they only activate after landing, it can go up. Also, the duration of each mine is 20 seconds. So, this ultimate is a bit unique compared to others. While Wrecking Ball does not gain ultimate charge from the mines, he can gain ultimate charge while the mines are active in those 20 seconds, which makes it feel like Wrecking Ball has his ultimate every minute. Considering it does charge pretty quickly, this is a fair assumption. A very common strategy to set up mines is to use your Grappling Claw to get up very high, drop your mines because then they'll spread over a larger area, and then pile drive into them, so that way you knock enemies up and into your mines after they activate. Again, this ultimate really isn't the best for doing damage, even though it does a crap ton of it. It's more of a zoning ult, like Torbjorn's Molten Core. So you really want to use this to divide the enemy team in half, or, you can also use it to deny them space so they can't push into your team. Alright, now that we've finally gotten through his kit, let's talk about Wrecking Ball's playstyle. I like to break it down into 3 distinct phases: the setup phase, the engagement phase, and the stall/recovery phase. Let me show you a clip of all 3 phases and what to do in each one of them. Alright, so as you can see, we just won the team fight, and we're now looking to reset so we can take the point again. well, not take the point, keep the point. So I decided to go into phase 1, the scouting phase. Here I use third-person camera to see where they're going and what to do. I'm thinking about going for a boop here, but I decide against it. Alright, now the fight begins, and I move into the engagement phase. After Reinhardt and Lucio both use their ults, I use mine and try to get some damage. I do get the Reinhardt down, but however, the damage is too much and we're losing this fight fast. So I head on to the point and engage in the last phase, the stall phase, which I die. But hey, we lost the fight and I used all of my abilities, and there was nothing much more that I could do there, so I'm happy about that. It's better to just regroup with your team at spawn and try again next time. Alright, well, I think that'll just about wrap it up for this Hammond Beginner's Guide. So, again, thank you guys so much for watching and sticking it through to the end. It means a lot to me, because this is my first ever guide video, and I'm hoping to improve and make many, many more, even though they take several hours to edit. So, yeah, as always, guys, I am Vortex of Vortex VGC, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.